What's up, pretty gang? It's your favorite nail tech Peaches, and we're back with another video. Today we are going to be focusing close up on the smile line. We are going to use Nude Panther by Not Polished, because if it's not polished, it's not nothing, period. So subscriber shout out goes to Francisca Yale, subscribed since 10 in the morning yesterday. Y'all already know. Subscribe, turn on them damn notifications, because if your notifications off, how you gonna know when I'm on, period. So we are going to start off with our first bead. And you can see it is a nice size bead that's going to take care of our cuticle area. So we're going to be concentrating up close and personal on how to get a nice, neat, flush, and just all across even consistent look with our smile lines. And that starts with the cuticle area. So I always first get a bead that's going to naturally kind of just flow with its own shape. And I'm going to let it kind of do its thing down there. And I'm going to focus in tucking in the cuticle area. Because if you get a bead that is the right consistency, you will be able to go ahead and do this and see how I just kind of like, I'm playing with the bead. It's listening to me, it's following directions on where I'm trying to move and push it, but it's still staying stiff enough that it's not running all over the place. That is what you need, okay? That's number one. You need to practice with those type of beads, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and compare it to the other hand just to make sure the size and shape is giving what it need to give, because this is going to be the baseline for the rest of the hand. And by baseline, I mean it's going to be pretty much the example, and it's going to set the standard for the rest of the fingers on this hand, because I am going to be comparing each finger to the other hand, but they also need to look like they match each other as well. So you can see after I tuck the cuticles in, everything that I put on top of that to really actually give the thickness that we need in the apex and the smile line is going to blend seamlessly in. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to stop tucking the cuticle area in, because you have to. But you can kind of see, as I do this, I'm taking my brush, I'm getting into all the nooks and crannies, and I am basically taking parts of my brush and pushing the bead around so that way I can get the right type of, I guess, sidewall area, as you could say. Now, look at how I'm doing this, right? I'm doing a whole lot of like tap, tap, pat, pat, pat. And the only time I'm doing any swiping motions is when I'm trying to get rid of products. See that? I'm making sure everything is level, looking from the side of the apex area, because that is the most important. Now, the reason why I'm going in with a few beads here and there is because I want to make sure that whatever smile line that I make, which if you're not familiar with the term smile line, that's literally the line around the nude. Looks like a smile. That's why it's called smile line. You want to make sure everything is like a shelf. It's nice and even, okay? So again, we're going to take a good size bead, and we are going to manipulate that bead, you can see, and push it up and tuck it into the cuticle area. So just imagine as if you were going to do a basic nail, except for all that acrylic is going to go up to the cuticle area. And you see, if your beads are the correct ratio liquid to powder, it's gonna just go ahead and slide right into that cuticle area, and all you're gonna have to do is tuck it in accordingly. So this particular client, she did have smaller nail beds, but her cuticle areas was kind of like tucked in interesting, well, I don't want to say interesting, but I'm trying to just explain to y'all, how do I explain a tucked cuticle area? Like her actual cuticles itself, they don't, I don't know how to explain it. Like, you see how I have to really push the acrylic into her cuticles? That's what I mean by that. So I'm only, after this, I don't think I show me comparing every single nail to the other hand, because my hand kind of gets in the way of what I'm doing. But you can see how I have to compare to make sure that everything is starting out at an even point. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there are times where things may appear even, but when you flip the hand, compare different ways, it may be fully even from one way, but not as even another way. And that's kind of what happened with this particular client. But the overall outcome was a very even and nice look. And that's okay. As long as when you match everything up from this direction and it's even, that's cool. Sometimes the other way, it's not going to look as even on everybody. And that's just a client by client case, you know? Anyway, so the main important part of this is after you get the cuticle area settled, you need to go ahead and look from all angles to make sure, like, is my apex good enough for this length of nail that I'm doing? You don't want to make something that's like extremely thick and out of control, because in that case you're gonna have a hard time later on filing away all the extra smile line and apex area that you don't need. Okay, so it may look thin, but this is why you go in slowly, bead by bead, depending on what's going on. Now this particular day, I will say my acrylic was just a little tiny bit runnier than what I would like it. Not by much. I definitely, you guys wouldn't be able to tell, but for what I normally do with French tip, I can normally do it in less beads than this. So that's kind of how I knew, but I wasn't really tripping because it still got the job done, you know? So basically we're gonna go with the next one. You can see the size bead that I like. It takes up a good amount of space, and I basically just go ahead and push up most of the product into the apex area in the cuticle area, and we just go ahead and clean up accordingly. Now you can see what I mean by her cuticle area. It's like, I don't want to, it's like not a perfectly round, it's more of like an oval kind of shape, where the highest point of her cuticles up there is the smallest part. So when doing that, you do have to be careful, because that means you have to spend a lot of time tucking it in over there. So now that I have 2 nails done, that's why I start comparing it to that hand, because I'm like, okay, we got 2 done. That means we're gonna have a pretty even result over here. So let's start comparing it to this hand itself. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure everything is nice and even. Checking the make sure the other hand is even with this one. That's why I kind of skipped out, because my hands are in the way. But as it stiffens up, I'm not gonna stop messing with the bead. I'm going to continue to make sure that everything is nice and neat, that the cuticle area is nice and tucked. You want to make sure that anywhere that there's not going to be any white, you need to make sure all the gaps are filled in with nude or whatever color that you're using for your base color. So do you see how I'm checking from the sides to make sure everything is seamless? This takes practice. It takes practice to know how thick is too thick and how thick is just right to be able to support the rest of the nail. Because when you're doing, this is what you would call like a reverse French. What if you were dang, I'm sorry, I'm tired, you guys. I lost my train of thought. Basically, I'm not gonna stop messing and tucking and shaping the bead until it's pretty much fully dry. Because if you don't, and if at any point you just kind of like stop, like, this is good enough, what's gonna happen is you may notice that your bead is going to start to slide or shift just because it's not fully dry. And yeah, that does happen, so be careful. So you can see the pinky. We're gonna go ahead, once again, we're gonna lay that bead down, and we're just going to push it up. And as the bead spreads, it is going to go ahead and get into that cuticle area. But you see, we're gonna have to tuck it in, because once again, her cuticles are more of an oval shape and not a like round shape, which means the highest point of her cuticle area, as you can see at the top, how it's not all the way tucked in. I need to go in and make sure it's extremely tucked. The highest point of her cuticle area is the smallest point. So we just have to make sure that everything is nice and flawless and seamless. Okay, so I make sure that we compare the pinkies to the pinkies to get a very even shape and look, because if you do not do that, you might have pinkies that are definitely 2 different shapes and sizes, and you might could get away with it, but that's just not ideal. Okay, so don't be scared to add more acrylic. This might seem like, wow, you're adding a lot more acrylic, but look at how I swipe away, and when I'm swiping down like that, that's getting rid of excess product that I'm swiping into the other area of the smile line area. I mean, I'm using that word sparingly because this whole block of nude is technically not a smile line is the actual like rounded part right there, but you know what I mean. We're just gonna go with it because that's the best term that I could give you guys to know what I'm talking about, as opposed to, you know, the part that's not filled in. So for the thumb, normally I like to go ahead and get a very large bead. And I'm not gonna lie, at this point, you might want to change your paper towel or find a more dry area, because you don't want your brush to start acting up. Because that's gonna make your job even harder with this process. But Yeah, we're gonna act like I did the right thing, got a new paper towel, but y'all know the reality. So for the thumbs, I do like to go ahead and with decent sized beads as well. I don't want to say the thumbs are harder, but it's like you have to just keep in mind there's a hole in the thumb over there that you need to compare it to, and also make sure that it is a similar shape and size to the rest of the nails. Now this particular thumb, I can't remember if it was this one or another one. My bead ended up stiffening up quicker than what I intended, so I kind of had to get it together because I was like, oh, this is what we doing. So it might have been this one, because this particular hand I did have to go in and add more acrylic after I put the white, which is okay because even it was this one. So you can see this one kind of stiffened up way quicker than I kind of intended, and so I just kind of pushed it up, fixed the shape and the size because it did droop down way more than I wanted to. So yeah, you see how you just keep molding it, and as long as your acrylic is not fully dry, it's gonna be okay. Like, you still have a chance to fix it basically. So this is why I say get familiar with using different parts of your brush, because the tip of your brush is not going to be able to do everything for you. Like, at a certain point, acrylic gets, you see, it gets stiff to where the tip of your brush is not strong enough to get through, just to let y'all know. And if you're not familiar with different parts of your brush, what I'm using right there to lay the acrylic is the body of the, tip of the brush. But, and see, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm tongue twisted, I'm really tired. So the body of the brush is more what you see me patting with, like right there, and swiping like that. Yeah, that can be very beneficial to what you're doing. I know a lot of people show you on YouTube, like, they do everything with the tip of the brush, and that's not gonna help you none. So look at this. When I seen that, I was like, oh, what the hell? So I had to kind of just, yeah, do what I could with that one. And it kind of sucked because this did smear like that. Like, it kind of, like, the white part when I laid it down on that side, it was kind of a little bit thinner on that side than the other one because of how this ended up going, but it still ended up working out fine and everything like that. So just try and keep an eye out on your clients and try not to get hella mad. I understand it is annoying, especially if you're a beginner and you don't really know exactly what you're doing, but you know, you gotta just work with it, okay? Just work with it. And you can see already that, like, the cuticle areas are pretty nice and neat, but with filing it's going to get a whole lot nicer and neater. So you can see we've got nice apexes, you can see. And okay, here we go. We are shaping the apex areas, the smile line right here. This is the smile, the actual smile line. Now when you're shaping the smile line, what you are doing is effectively cleaning up any inconsistencies, so that way when you go and lay the white, you are going to get a very nice, crisp, clean smile line when you file off the white. Okay, now this step is very important. I mean, I guess I could tell you, like, oh, I don't have to do this. I do it every time, no matter how perfect it looks, because it always helps. Because sometimes you find that there are random inconsistencies within the shape, or sometimes your sides, like your sidewalls, the little shelf, I call it a shelf, you're making that shelf even more pronounced, so that way when you go and lay the white, it allows the white to fit in there seamlessly, and you'll be able to create your sidewalls with your white or whatever color you choose to use for the tip. So this step is crucial, because if I would have did it like on this particular nail, the shelf, you can see the shelf, it wasn't very pronounced. So if I would have done this and like thickened up the sidewalls of this nude area, the white would have been like pretty thin, and that would have caused probably like breaking and stuff. Now this is where you will find and see, like, okay, are my smile lines and apex area thick enough to support the rest of the nail? You should be able to see at this point, if you start feeling suspicious, like, this feels a little bit too thin, it probably is, and that means go back and add a little bit more of the nude or whatever color that you're using, okay? Because like I said, if you don't do this, it's going to definitely affect the structure of your nail. All right. So I'm looking from all angles, just making sure everything is nice and neat and just cleaned up. Now this is also the first original hand that I did, because you need to lay the nude on both hands and then go back to the hand that's dry, the one you originally started with, so that you can go ahead and do this. Because if you don't, you're going to go ahead and file away all that you've done. Like if you try and file acrylic while it's not dry, it's not going to look good. It's going to basically crumble and just flake off, and that's effectively not what you want. Okay, so just keep going until you feel like things are looking good. Now this is what I was talking about when I compared it this way. They weren't all the same exact length, so I went back and tried to shorten some, make sure I adjusted the direction of the, I don't want to say the point, but of the oval, to make sure everything was facing the same direction. But when I compared them from this way on her, they all matched up between both hands. So that's what I'm saying. Sometimes don't feel like you gotta I don't want to say overcompensate, but sometimes you have to find a happy medium, because the way some people's fingers are, sometimes it just don't match up perfectly from both angles. And there's a lot of people's fingers who do match up perfectly from both angles. Like, I don't really know how to explain that, but you just don't get discouraged. As long as it matches up from this way, like when you're holding the hands this way, then you're good to go. So just go ahead and keep filing until you realize everything seems like it's all good. And at this point I realized, all right, I think this is looking good. It looks aesthetically pleasing. I'm making sure that the oval, because I did do a more like just a straight up oval shape. I didn't do too much of like a taper to the oval or anything like that. And so you can see me matching everything up, and from this particular angle everything looks good. Now when I go from this particular angle, you might see like it's a little short here and there. It may not seem like it completely matches up, but that's what I was saying. Like, it's okay, because if I were to make them any longer or anything else from the other angle, it would, like from this angle, it wouldn't look too good. So I think there was a couple where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna fix it right quick, because I felt like there was some, the two middle ones or whatever, I was like, that could be shortened up a little bit. They're still not going to match up from the other way, but at least they're going to look good from this way. So that's what I said. Don't stress over it, because it does happen. I don't even want to say it's an anomaly, because it ain't necessarily an anomaly. Just fingers is crazy, man. Nail beds, fingers, all that. Everything is not perfect all the time, but it just needs to look like it. You feel me? So I'm looking to make sure everything is cool. Like I said, make sure all the apex areas match that length and the finger and the nail bed. If anything is lumpy or bumpy right now, smooth it out with the file, with your hand file, because it will help you in the long run. Okay, so next up, the thing that makes a seamless look is going to be using the e-file to file around the cuticle area. So at this point, we've already put our white, and what we need to do is go ahead and make sure we get around this cuticle area. If you do not do this good enough, it's not going to be seamless, and it's not going to give you the look that you want. So I'm trying to get the best angle that I can of this. I apologize for the lighting and stuff. It's kind of hard to see, but you guys can see what type of angle that I'm doing and where I'm focusing on to make sure that everything is seamless. Okay, it's kind of hard to see because everything is just kind of bright and everything like that, but yeah. So really what we're focusing on, and this part I could have cut this out, honestly. I had to pause and upload this in because I was like, where the hell is my footage of me finish filing? So look, around the cuticle area, do you see how I have the finger bent? We need to go around at this particular angle. I'm using a medium grit zebra file band. I don't even know why I said zebra file, but medium grit zebra band. Now, when I'm going around, do you see how it's kind of sloping that cuticle area so that way it is a natural look from the side? I'm so sorry about the lighting once again, but I'm tired and this is what we got to work with, okay? So do you see how the angle that I'm doing this at, it's making the cuticle area have a natural slope up to the apex? That's what you want. Okay, now if we don't do this, you're gonna have areas where maybe the white is kind of out of control and it's basically spilling outside of the nail wall, and you don't want that. Okay, so this is really going to help correct a lot of the problems you may be having with thickness of the apex area, and once you do this, it's going to show you if your apex is sitting correctly or not. Okay, so don't be too scared like, oh, my apex is too, well, you'll be able to see if it's too thin. Like before, like once you put the white together, you'll be able to see if it's too thin. But this will basically show you once you get your apex area together, it's going to show you how smooth of a French that you're really going to have, because it all starts from that cuticle area. If it's too lumpy and bumpy in this area right here, baby, it's not going to look natural and it's not going to work. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep finish filing. I'm not worried about getting off any of the white because that's what the hand file is for. And honestly, I don't believe in using the e-file to do that, because that can cause more lumps and bumps than there already is. I feel like the hand file allows you to get a hold of more surface area and have a way smoother finish, just in my personal opinion. That's just what I like to do. Okay, so I hope this helps y'all to, you know, sort through any issues that you've been having with getting a smooth and even smile line with your French tips. You guys don't forget to go ahead and make sure that you comment, like, and of course don't forget to subscribe. Turn on your notifications so that way you know every time I upload. I apologize, I missed 2 days of uploading, and we're gonna get back on track, you guys. I'm just kind of tired at the moment, but I do appreciate you guys. We're so close to 1K subscribers. Once again, I hope this really helps some people kind of break down the apex area. Let me know if you guys like the close-up videos, and I will continue to provide those. I feel like it's just a nice view to really see what it is that I'm doing. What else do I want to say? The final look is about to come right back around again. Once again, I appreciate all you guys' support. Let me know what else you guys want to see. And I've got a very full day tomorrow. I probably won't be done until closer to midnight. So hopefully I'll be able to upload something for you guys. Here is the final look. Once again, turn on your notifications. And as always, I will see you in the next time.